If your intonation is a matter of luck, this means only one thing: you are not using the right techniques. Hundreds of my adult students have this exact problem, and now they can play with perfect intonation. So I'm sure you could do it too. And today I will show you 7 simple steps that will fix your intonation so that you can play every note perfectly. And step 1 is understanding the biggest intonation mistake people do. It's to confund calibration with automation. So when you work on your intonation, you need to understand those 2 principles. Calibration is the act of finding the right note. Okay? That means being sure that the note you are playing is the right one and is exactly on tune. Automation, in opposite, is the process of repeating something so that you can always play it the same way. And the mistake I see all people do is that they will just repeat the same things, but the problem is that they think that just by repeating it will improve intonation. But it doesn't work like that. If you repeat something that's bad, it just stays bad. I'm sorry. Okay, it's like that. And that's the reason, before repeating, you first need to do calibration to find the exact right note. And when you know this is the right note, then you repeat to automate it. So now you maybe ask yourself, okay, but how can I exactly know that I'm playing the right note? You need to improve your hearing. And for this, there is specific exercises, and today we will do every single one. And here I really want to add that everyone can improve his hearing to achieve a perfect hearing, okay, so that you can play every note a perfect tune. A lot of people just think like, I can't hear if the tone is right or wrong, and they think it's just like that, they are not talented enough, and that's wrong. Everybody can learn it. Let's go to step 2, false solution to fix your intonation. Yes, the second problem is that, okay, I need to find what is the right note, but the problem is that most people use the wrong solution for that. So the first one that's used a lot is basically when you go to a teacher and then you play for him and then he will tell you the whole time, this note was too low, this note was too high, and so on. And the problem with that is that you are not training your hearing, basically, yeah? It's just you are waiting and then tell you a lower, higher, those kind of things. So it doesn't help at all. The second false solution is looking at a tuner, okay? Like when you want to tune your violin, but you use it this time to know if your note is too high or too low. This is not helpful either, because instead of using your ear and training it, you are just looking and then it shows you it's too high, too low, and it's a wrong solution. The third one is using finger tape on the violin to know exactly where to put the finger. It's the same. Here what happens is that you end up looking the whole time at your fingers, and here there is a few problems with that. The first one is that first it's not precise enough. That means that it's not really completely on tune, it's just average. And the thing is that you need to look at your fingers the whole time. When you stop looking, it doesn't work anymore, okay? And the first problem is that you are focused on looking instead of hearing. Because here a very important principle is that when you play, intonation is just one part, okay? Some other part is how beautiful your sound with the bow is. The third one is like rhythm, tempo, musicality, there is a lot of things. And the only way to control all those things at the same time is listening. And if you start focusing the whole time on your fingers, you will listen less, and maybe you will be in tune, but everything else will sound very bad. And the problem is that every time you are using your fingertip, you are not training your hearing, and so you will always need it. That means that you will always stay a beginner, and the day someone will come and remove it so that you learn it the right way, it will be quite difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult then. So now let's see step 3. Intonation method 1, playing with, playing after. So the first method is the one that I use the most with complete beginners and beginners. I think it's the easiest one and the most effective. Basically, it's 2 variations of the same thing. Playing with means that you will play with a recording of what you are practicing. Playing after means you will play after having listened to a recording of something you are playing. So here an example. Let's say you wanted to train the scale on the D string that you can see here. Then playing with will mean that you will play with a recording of it. So this, for example, that's what we are using with our student in the Violinacademy. And here they can play this exercise with me together. And basically, I will just play at the same time together. But here, something very important. What you need to do when you are doing that is to focus only on the intonation and really try to calibrate every one of the notes with the recording. That means don't just focus on your thing, you know, or just following the recording. You really need to hear every single note and try to adjust it so that it really sounds like one single note, okay? And for that reason, that's very good for something like that to really reduce the speed. So, for example, here in this software, it's very easy to just reduce the speed or to loop certain parts so that you can just repeat those few notes a few times. But that's the goal, to calibrate every note playing together. But actually, there is something that's even better. I think it's playing after. That means that you have first the complete recording of your exercise, or if it's a piece that will be just a few bars, but it works best for exercises. And then what you will do is close your eyes, really try to record what you are hearing, to memorize it. And then you will play directly after it's finished, let your eyes close and play it. And because you just add it, you will see that it's quite easy to have an idea if it's too high or too low, okay? And every time you do that, your hearing will become better and you will become better at it. So step 4 is intonation method number 2, using open strings. And by the way, we are organizing a free online masterclass where I will show you exactly what you need to learn to play the violin beautifully. You can register with the link below this video. So for method 2, what we just want to do is to calibrate every note that you are playing with some open string. So the thing is that we have 4 different open strings. We have the G, D, A, E. That means that every time we are playing one of those notes, it's very easy to calibrate it. So let's take our example of the scales on the D string again. When you see we have a D, a E, a G, and a A. That means that in this case, 4 of the 5 notes we need to play are the same as an open strings. It doesn't matter if it's on the same octave or lower or higher. And how it works is simple. First, the D is an open string, I don't need to calibrate it. The next note is the E. So what I will do is that I will play, like here, my E, first finger with my E open string. And of course, it's not the same octave, it doesn't sound exactly the same, but it's very similar. So here the same, I will advise you to close your eyes and try to match your open string. And you don't need to be right, okay? You just need to try and then try a little bit lower and ask yourself, is it better now or is it worse? It sounds better, then let's try again. Better, okay? And you go like that step by step. And here the same, at the beginning it will be very difficult, but each time you do that you will become better at it, until you will train your ears. So now if you continue, here we have a little problem, the F sharp. The F sharp, you will not be able to compare it with an open string because there is no F sharp open strings. So we'll skip it and we go to the G. Here the G, the same, we'll compare it like here with the G open string. And here you really need to take your time. Very often I see that people try too fast. They are like... and then a little bit stressed. Okay, so really take your time, try to listen. And for the A, that will be the same. So the A, it will be the same note. We will have A, 4th finger with A open string. And here we really want it to sound exactly the same. Okay, and for this that's the same. Try a little bit higher, a little bit lower, always adjusting. And then let's come back to our F sharp, because now we know where the G is, and we know that the F sharp is a half tone from the G, so it's next to it. So now we just need to put the second finger next to the third finger, close together, and that's all. So let's see now intonation method 3, finding the resonance point. That is super important because it's not just about intonation, it's about having the violin sounds truly beautifully. Here, the idea is that when you are playing the right note on the right spot with perfect intonation, then the violin will really start to sound beautifully. You will really hear that the whole violin come in resonance. Okay, so let me show you with the G on the D string. If it's too low, the sound stop after I leave the bow. If it's the right note, it stays very long. It continues sounding after I leave the bow for a few seconds. Okay, if it's too high, go directly down. Okay, and what we want to hear is this, how long the note continues to sound after I lift the bow. And yeah, it will not work with every note, it will work mostly with the notes that are the same as the open string, G, D, A, E. But here it's good for our example because we have 3 notes that are the same. So we'll do first for the G, I will repeat a few times, and every time I will just try a little bit higher, a little bit lower, and check if it sounds better or worse. So now, it's worse, there is no resonance. I try lower, better. I try again a little bit lower. Or even better, I try lower again. Now it's worse, so I go higher. And so on, okay? Then I will do the same for the E. Until I can really hear the resonance. And the A. And very often what happens is that the open string itself starts resonating. Actually you can see it with an up-close view of my violin, that when I play my G, the G string will try to resonate too. You can see it move a little bit. And when I play my E string is actually or sounding, okay? But the reason if I have a finger on the E string, there will be no resonance. Because it's the string itself that's resonating. The same for the A. When I let it free, we can see my A string moving actually. Because it's sounding with it. So now let's go to method 4, using a reference note. That's really good for the intonation. And a little bit more advanced, but is really, really good to develop your air. So here what you are gonna do basically is to use a reference note, that means a note that will stay the same, to adjust every note with it, okay? For example, if you come back to our scale, here I will just have a D the whole time, sounding at the same time I'm playing, and I will adjust every note with it. So for this you can use your phone or a device like this one, that's a Korg KDM, and I will play with it a D. And now I will play every note on it slowly. So the D is the same, it's normal. Now the E. And the next one. And because of that, it's very easy to adjust. So first, you need to know which note to choose. The tonica or the dominant is the name. That means that if you are like here in D major, you will use a D or an A, the first note or the fifth note. So with an A that will look like that, and that will sound like this, for example. And that's interesting to do it with 2 different notes, because it will give you complete different references, and some notes will be easier to hear and others more difficult. But Of course, you really need to understand a little bit what you are listening to. It will really help. For that, you need to look at the interval. So at the beginning, when you are playing D with D, it's an unisono, that's the name. That's the same note. Okay, I'm playing D with D. It should sound the same. So now when I'm playing the E, it's a major second. This is not very easy to air, okay, but it's okay. And then the next one, the F sharp, will be a major third. So that sounds like that. Major third that sounds quite happy, basically. And then you go to a fourth, and those are the intervals that are the easiest to wear, the perfect fourth and the perfect fifth. So here when I play the G with the D, it's easy to wear. When the note is perfect, it sounds very clear. When it's too high or too low. And the same with the perfect fifth, very easy to listen to. When it's too high or too low. Okay? And the thing is that when I inverse it, when I use a A instead of a D, then what happens is that this interval becomes a perfect fifth and this one a perfect fourth. So that I can have different interval with those reference. So and now let's go to step 7, knowing exactly where every note is. So this is very basic, but I think it's really like it's 80% of the intonation, and I think that most problems people have with intonation is actually because of that, because I don't really know where the notes are on the violin. So that will be here the example for our scale that we just made, will be just to know exactly where those notes are. That means which fingers are together, which fingers are apart. And especially when you start playing on multiple strings, it becomes even more important. So here let's take the same example but in the complete first position, and we'll see that you have very different positions. Sometimes the third and the fourth finger are together, sometimes the second and the third, and sometimes the first and the second, okay? And here, each time where you have those half tone, you really need to put the finger very close one to another. And the second thing is that you need to know exactly when on each string the fingers are at the same level. Because basically, for example here, the first finger is always at the same level. There is no difference between playing the A or the F sharp. Or they are all at the same level. And that means actually, if you find one of them, finding the other one is really easy because they are exactly at the same level on the violin. And the same, for example here, the fourth finger is always at the same level. So you just need one time to adjust it. And then it will be parallel on each string. And if when you are doing that, it's not working, that like the note is changing when you are changing strings, is probably because you are not doing the string crossing the right way. Okay, basically you should have the same posture the whole time and do the string crossing with the entire arm like that. So that you keep the same posture on each string, and your forefinger will stay at the same level on every string. And here, one last thing, very important, you need to start with very simple exercises, okay? If you try to fix your intonation by doing complicated things or playing like 10 notes one after another, even a scale is often too complicated for most people when they really want to improve the intonation to the next level, okay? Very often it's better to just play 2-note exercises. That's what we do a lot with our students in the Violinacademy, for example. 2-note exercises, that means that you repeat 2 notes, okay? It could be E to G. Okay, so what you need only to calibrate 2 notes first, the E and the G, before you start. And after you calibrate every note, then you start repeating it, doing multiple repetition in different ways to automate it, okay? And I have other video about exactly that. Thanks you for listening.